Hey guys, welcome back to Ace Recaps. Today I'm going to be explaining a 2022 action-adventure film titled The Pirates, The Last Royal Treasure. In 1388, the first monarch of the Joseon dynasty turned his army around at the perfect time and conquered the Goryeo dynasty's last pillar. Generals from Goryeo who sensed the threat seized the kingdom's treasure and escaped far out to sea, never to be seen again. 4 years later, a group of thieves led by Mu Chi is drifting in the water on top of a piece of wood after eluding capture by a group of soldiers who intended to arrest them for stealing from the palace. Fortunately, Captain Hei Rang and her pirate ship find them, rescue them, and take them in when she first sees them. Mu Chi feels Hei Rang is a marvelous angel. 4 months later, he discovers how strict she is. Both parties are in a state of tension. The pirates believe the thieves are lazy and disgusting, while the thieves believe they aren't real pirates because they exclusively target Japanese ships. There's also the issue of the thieves not knowing whether they should listen to Mu Chi because he's their boss or Hei Rang because they're on her ship. They uncover another Japanese pirate ship one afternoon and prepare to attack. Anxious to demonstrate their usefulness and talent, Mu Chi takes the initiative and easily defeats his opponents with his advanced sword abilities. While the enemy leader refuses to speak with Hei Rang's team, one of their children is so terrified that he says they were seeking a large treasure. Fortunately, one of Hei Rang's soldiers has already discovered the map, and they realize that this treasure is intended to be the one stolen by the Goryeo general years ago. All of the men want to go after it, and Hei Rang agrees after some hesitation. When the gang arrives on an island, Mu Chi takes over as the leader because Hei Rang is having difficulty reading the map. Just then they come across a cow. Mu Chi interprets it as a welcome sign and sends his bandits after it, but it turns out to be simply the first cow in front of a herd, and the guys are run over. Move out of the way next time, guys. Mu Chi gets thrown off the cliff, and while the rest of the party believes he's dead, he's actually fine and clinging onto a branch, where he discovers an ancient tusk when he climbs back up. Hei Rang grabs the tusk because she recalls one being drawn on the map and discovers the true map engraved on the bone. Before heading after it, they must treat the cow-inflicted wounds. Hei Rang is sick of dealing with the thieves' stupid judgments and says that she just took them out of charity, but now that they are back on land, to continue traveling with her, they must become pirates under her command. Mu Chi refuses, believing that his men will support him, but they all join Hei Rang and Mu Chi is the only survivor on the island. Meanwhile, the Goryeo dynasty's surviving king is attempting to reclaim power by hiring the legendary general Jeong-su. Jeong-su explains that he will need riches before warriors, therefore their best hope is to recover the mythical gold. Back aboard the ship, the crew is celebrating their victory with a meal, only to discover that the tusk has been taken while they were asleep. A message left behind suggests that Mu Chi is the culprit, so Hei Rang returns to the island with a few men to get the tusk. Following a dangerous encounter with a tiger, Hei Rang locates Mu Chi in an abandoned shack and beats him until he reveals that the thief Mok Yi stole it. Mu Chi did return to the ship in the middle of the night to steal the tusk, and Mok Yi assisted him while pretending to be faithful to his master. However, as soon as they arrived at the shore and Mu Chi turned around, Mok Yi stole the tusk once more and took it with him. To make matters worse, Mok Yi flees the ship and travels to the mainland, pretending to be Mu Chi in order to sell the tusk to a wealthy merchant. Fortunately, the crew arrives just in time to stop the sale and retrieve the tusk. They also kidnap the merchant's daughter for assisting Mok Yi. When they return to the ship, Hei Rang decides that Mu Chi, Mok Yi, and the girl should be executed. When Mu Chi is ready to be executed, he reveals that he has been hiding a knife the entire time and manages to escape. He enters Hei Rang's office and steals the tusk, which he then holds over the water, threatening to drop it if they hurt him. Hei Rang lays down her blade and agrees not to hurt anyone if she's given back the tusk. He's pushed into the sea after Hei Rang admits she's always known about his dagger, and she simply wanted to re-establish her authority by reminding them she could murder them if she wanted. Mu Chi and Mok Yi are assigned manual labor while Hei Rang and her men remove the piece of fabric covering the tusk. However, the message on it is encoded, and they are unable to decipher it. Meanwhile, General Jeong-su tortures a priest into revealing the whereabouts of the treasure and requests that the dynasty leader be named the next king if he finds it. However, his suggestion is not favorably accepted. Back on the ship, Hei Rang lets Mu Chi examine the fabric, and he reads the message, which states that their next destination is the island of Hegildo. Nobody has ever returned from this deadly location, and Mok Yi does not want to go, but Hei Rang believes it is worth the risk. She brings a few guys on a boat with her, each carrying an air-filled pig bladder before diving into the whirlpool that pulls them into the cave. Mu Chi doesn't know how to utilize his bladder and nearly drowns, so Hei Rang has to drag him out of the water and give him mouth-to-mouth to save him. For more mouth-to-mouth action with me, subscribe now. While everyone is about to give up, Mu Chi detects something and acts harsh towards Hei Rang in order to provoke her right-hand guy into a fight. Throwing the guy against a cave wall causes it to collapse, revealing a hidden door. The company takes this trail and is pleased to uncover a slew of chests, only to be disappointed when they open them to find only some old bottles. There's also an odd flag with a monster head painted on it, but the most intriguing thing about it is the code hidden inside its lips. Just then, something bursts and causes the cave to tremble. General Jeong-soo and his soldiers have arrived on the island and are making their way inside the cave from above instead of struggling with the whirlpool. A battle breaks out between the two groups, and Mok-yi sneaks a peek at the flag before fleeing. The collapsing debris from the cave ceiling, however, knocks Hae-rang out. Mu-chi orders the men to take her away while he remains behind to fight. When General Jeong-soo recognizes Mu-chi as the former soldier who prevented him from becoming king, he becomes more hostile. Jeong-soo had previously been promised kingship if he brought the enemy's head, and in order to gain this triumph, he had slaughtered his own injured men. When Mu-chi found out, he turned on him and labeled him a traitor. Because the fight is violent and fairly even, Mu-chi distracts Jeong-soo by throwing his sword at him before plunging back into the whirlpool with all the chests. Jeong-soo tries to pursue him, but without a pig bladder, he lacks the extra air needed to stay underwater for this long and must return to his soldiers. Then Hae-rang appears to assist Mu-chi, but this time it is she who passes out due to a lack of oxygen. Mu-chi removes some air from her bladder and mouth-to-mouth distributes it to Hae-rang, keeping her alive. Before they can reach the surface, a whale, however, appears and consumes them. Join Hae-rang's crew, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Both crew members believe they have lost their bosses, but the whale quickly expels them through its blowhole, and both safely land on the ship. Meanwhile, Jeong-soo discovers a peculiar flag and rapidly deciphers the code. As a result, he convinces the dynasty head to lend him a ship armed with heavy guns to go to the next destination. But he still needs to solve the puzzle on the flag's corner. After a few hours, Hae-rang has a nightmare about fire dragons and realizes that the carriage she saw on the flag was actually a sea map. She exits her room and declares that they must return to grab the flag since it contains the map to the next place. However, the girl soon intervenes and informs everyone that Mok-yi has seen and comprehended the code. The team attacks Mok-yi and ties him up to force him to reveal what the code said, which turns out to be on Uzama Island, a location engulfed in lightning. Mok-yi believes it is too risky to go, despite the fact that he is the only one who knows the way. So, if the crew wants him to lead them, he insists on being captain until they recover the treasure. Hae-rang is not amused, but she invites the crew to vote, and when she shuts her eyes, everyone votes for Mok-yi to temporarily become captain in order to find the treasure. Mok-yi is promoted to captain, while Mu-chi and Hae-rang are sent to the kitchen. Hae-rang is a terrible cook, but no one dares to tell her that her food tastes bad because they are afraid of her. When Mu-chi attempts to tease Hae-rang about the situation, she yells at him, explaining that it isn't about power. She wouldn't have minded giving someone else her position if that person actually deserved it. The tension between these two is thicker than whale cum. She is correct in her assessment. Mok-yi is a terrible captain. He bullies and taunts the entire staff, handing out punishments for minor problems, and his orders make no sense. Later that evening, Mu-chi invites Hae-rang to join him in the crow's nest to observe the stars, and the two enjoy a great bonding moment. The ship arrives in the Sea of Fire the next day, which Hae-rang survived as a child and is the source of her nightmares. Legend has it that fire dragons emerge from the sea, but in truth, there are little underwater volcanoes. Things are really heating up now. Hae-rang wishes to reroute the ship, but Mok-yi disagrees, claiming to be more familiar with the path. This brings them closer to Onuzama Island, and soon lightning strikes the ship, sparking a fire. Jeong-soo's ship is also arriving, and they've set up kites to redirect the lightning in order to avoid being hit. Mok-yi is too terrified and confused to act, so Hae-rang resumes shouting orders as she takes command of the ship. Mok-yi falls off the deck and nearly drowns, but Mu-chi saves him just in time before Hae-rang steers the ship out of the storm. Moments later, the crew takes 2 boats to the island, but Mok-yi has no idea where to go next because he just got to read the name of the area and not the other facts. While Jeong-soo and his soldiers arrive on the island, the crew begins digging in random locations. Because they have the riddle, they immediately realize that they must ascend the island's mountain, which is regularly struck by lightning. Mu-chi witnesses the lightning, which usually falls in the same area, and chooses to go investigate on his own, informing Hae-rang that he's doing it for her. Mu-chi arrives at the top of the mountain a few moments later to discover Jeong-soo and his soldiers already there. There are abandoned houses around, as well as the skulls of the Joseon dynasty's founders on spears. However, when Jeong-soo's men attempt to remove them in quest of the riches, they are all stabbed since the equipment is a trap. There is only one spear remaining, which Jeong-soo accepts, and he is unharmed because the spear represents the only surviving general. Meanwhile, Mok-yi flees the team to avoid their wrath and runs into a penguin holding a gold bar in its beak. He summons the crew, and they all try in vain to converse with the penguin. The roar of cannon suddenly distracts everyone. The pirate ship is being attacked by Jeong-soo's ship. Mu-chi is likewise distracted by this and accidentally reveals himself, prompting Cheong-su to send his men to pursue him. When opening the chest he discovered under the spear, instead of treasure, he finds a mask that fits the face on the flag. Hae-rang is concerned about Mu-chi, but she can't allow the enemy destroy their ship. She persuades the crew to follow her leadership once more, and they split the group in half. Some of them travel up the mountain to assist Mu-chi, while the others return to assist the ship with Hae-rang. However, Mok-yi is enraged that his captaincy has been revoked, and he sets off with the penguin to find the treasure, tying a rope around the miserable bird to guide it underwater. The thieves arrive as backup on top of the mountain, allowing Mu-chi the opportunity to steal the mask from Cheong-su and challenge him to a last duel. The fight is heated, and they knock the mask off, causing it to land on top of Mok-yi's head, which he promptly grabs and reveals the final piece of the puzzle. The mask says enter, and it is shaped like the cave beneath the island, so he must definitely proceed in that direction. Inside the cave, he discovers a swarm of penguins on freezing ground, as well as the famous ship containing the wealth. Mok-yi begins to rejoice, only to be ambushed by penguins. Hae-rang and the rest of the crew successfully board the boats, but by the time they return, their ship has been destroyed. Their archer, however, does not give up and begins hitting Cheong-su's crew with his arrows, inciting the other pirates to strike as well. It's a difficult battle since underwater volcanoes are exploding around them, igniting a fire on the ship. When Hae-rang urges the opposing captain to collaborate to survive, he refuses. When Hae-rang believes there is no hope left, Mok-yi appears on the mythical ship with the penguins to save them all. The crew leaps over to avoid being killed, but just then, a new whirlpool emerges in the ocean, and additional volcanoes erupt, destroying the enemy ship. Fortunately, the pirates can get their new ship away thanks to Hae-rang's skill at the helm and careful instructions on how to control the sails. On top of the mountain, and Mu-chi and Cheong-su are forced to lower their swords to prevent being struck by lightning. After witnessing their ships sink, their rage returns, and the combat resumes. Despite the lightning, Cheong-su manages to stab Mu-chi, but it's not in a critical area, so Mu-chi still has a chance. One of the robbers throws a sword at his boss. Mu-chi uses the sword to attract lightning and end Cheong-su once and for all. A few hours later, everyone is back on the new ship, and their injuries have been treated. Hae-rang reveals she might accept Mu-chi as co-captain if he acts properly, and when Mu-chi admits he'd accompany her into the afterlife, Hae-rang kisses him. That's all folks, thank you for watching. If you liked the video please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.